I would like to apologize for a short pause at about the 3-minute mark or so of the video. I was trying to zoom in and I accidentally stopped recording. So there is a short pause, should only be about 2 or 3 seconds, and then it gets back to recording. So for that I apologize, otherwise the video is full and unedited. Thank you.
Thanks everyone for coming out here today. I appreciate everyone's support. We talk about some legislation that's being proposed here. My name is Brandon Kelting. I'm part of the MNDDA, the Minnesota Duty Disabled Association. So my technical term is that I'm the Political Action Committee Chair. So I'm very fancy and I know what I'm talking about. We're here today to talk about House File 1234 and Senate File 1959. Before we get started, I'd like to point out that this bill contains provisions for first responders to receive mental health therapy when they're suffering from PTSD. Our organization believes that this is a very important step. Sorry about that. It's a very important step in dealing with a problem that has been in our first responder field for many years. We applaud the efforts of the authors of this bill, as well as the stakeholders, in moving forward with helping officers and firefighters deal with PTSD. That being said, there's provisions in this bill that impact those very same first responders that they are trying to help. These first responders who are suffering from physical injuries, as well as PTSD, are also being penalized through this bill. I'd like to be very clear. This is not a PTSD bill. This isn't a cop bill. This isn't a bill about the Minneapolis Police Department. This isn't a bill about the events that transpired in 2020 that shocked the world and our country. This bill is about disabled first responders who sacrifice a lot and lose their jobs and careers because they're injured on duty. These bills aim to lower the disability income of these first responders and their families. This bill will impact all first responders, not just first responders moving forward, but every first responder who's currently receiving duty disability benefits. Those who left their careers 10, 15 years ago, who were told how much they're able to make, are going to be told they can't make that much anymore. They're going to have to sacrifice at a minimum 25% of their income due to this bill. There's a couple reasons why the stakeholders in PARA say they are passing this legislation. One is that the fund has completely grabbed itself because of the impact of first responders being hurt on their job doing their duties. They're suggesting heavy penalties on the disabled first responders in an attempt to refund the fund in the future when they think that these officers and firefighters will have increased numbers of disability. To be clear, PARA is projecting disability benefits in the future, and that may or may not impact the solvency of this fund. They are passing a law based on projections and hearsay. There's over 165,000 people who contribute to PARA. There are currently 877 of those members who are on duty disability. Out of those, 460 people report reemployment earnings. That can be anywhere from $1 to $10,000. The Police and Fire Fund is currently funded at 93%. A number that has steadily increased since 2017. PARA's Executive Director, Doug Anderson, wrote in the 2021 annual report that at 93.7%, the fund was the highest it's been funded in 20 years. Yet, apparently, this fund is at risk of losing its solvency. The average duty disability recipient receives $53,000 a year. If you do the math, I use the calculator, this equals out to $47 million that is paid out to these disabled first responders a year. This represents only 2% of the $2.3 billion with a B dollars that PARA pays out to all of their members each year. 2%. Yet somehow we are impacting this fund so negatively that they need to tax us with heavy penalties. These projections that PARA says are increasing in the future say it's going to cost them $40 million a year. That's an additional 1.7% in payouts. So in total, we're looking at 3.7% of an increase on a $2.3 billion payout. I don't know how this math makes any sense and how we are impacting this fund so badly that it's going to die or blow up. If we were to completely take away the benefits from all of the 460 disabled first responders who report any income of any kind, PARA would get back $24 million. This isn't even close to the amount of the $40 million they say is going to destroy this fund. Yet, they aim to pass a bill that is going to allow them to collect even less than that. I'm not sure how this 4% impact is destroying this bill. Possibly it's the $1.7 billion, again with a fee, that they lost in poor returns last year. I fail to recognize how poor investment strategies and returns fall on the shoulders of disabled first responders to fix. The additional argument to passing this legislation is that PARA has apparently received information from stakeholders and active members that it's unfair duty disability recipients are able to make 125% of their previous earnings. Apparently, those stakeholders feel that they are funding our paychecks. Yet this bill aims to make us pay for disability recipients in the future. It's contradictory and it makes no sense. Bear with me, I gotta turn the page. Disability income is frozen in time at the time the first responder loses their career. Our income does not increase, but for the 1% increase we get every year after our first 3 years of being on disability. We lose the opportunity to obtain raises, promotions, and the ability to continue to contribute to our future retirement account. Those still on the job contribute to PARA, and as a result, their retirement income has increased over time. They're able to receive promotions and raises. Active members also have the benefit of increasing their retirement payouts as a result of these contributions. This legislation that is being proposed forces duty disability recipients to pay even more into PARA and get no such benefits in return. In fact, this legislation will actually lower their income. I'm going to go over how this bill will impact me a little bit. Since I had to leave my career early, I'm missing out on the opportunity to make $30,000 a year in my retirement years. I'm losing $30,000 a year in my retirement years. I ask if that is fair. I'm only allowed to work 5 hours a week. Many first responders have similar restrictions. They're restricted on the amount of time they can work. They're restricted on where they can work. They're restricted on what fields they can work. And for many first responders, accommodations need to be made for their disability in order for them to even work in the first place. I lost my career 2 years ago and have been trying to recover ever since. I don't know when or if I will ever be able to work again. I currently work part-time, working 5 hours a week, making $15 an hour, scooping dog food. If I work this job every week over the course of the year, I'll make $3,900. Under this new legislation, PARA will take that 50% of that amount, $1,950, out of my income via disability and my reduction via reduction in my disability benefits. I ask if that is fair. If I make $20,000 a year, if I find a better job, if I can work more hours, and I can make 20 grand a year, PARA is going to take $10,000 of that. I ask if that's fair. I'm not getting rich on duty disability benefits. If I'm ever able to work full-time in a completely new field that I have no education and no experience in, making $45,000, if I combine that with my duty disability benefits, I will immediately be subjected to a $12,000 deduction in my benefits as a result this new legislation. I ask if you believe that is fair. Duty disability first responders also have to deal with their disability for the rest of their lives. Nobody's out here gallivanting around, driving a BMW, playing golf, drinking mimosas, and getting massages. We're out here scooping poop. We're out here working part-time. We want to work more. We would like to work more. This is being taken away from us. I ask if that's fair. I ask if it's fair that on Halloween this last year, I sat in my garage by myself crying on the floor because I had made the decision that I was going to end my own life instead of dealing with the trauma. This is just hours before I'm supposed to take my children trick-or-treating. Had I followed through that day, Halloween would be a literal nightmare for my children and family for the rest of their lives. I ask if that is fair. I'd like to touch a little bit on the burden of proof that is involved in this bill. Right now, the proof is on the applicant. We go apply for disability. We're required to provide proof from multiple doctors that we have a disability. Per our application in PARA, and we're subjected to multiple more doctor's visits or psychologist visits. The process continues. We give out releases of information. Third-party people contact all of our doctors, go through our records, and they make a determination if our disability is legitimate or if they want us to go through more subjections of doctor's visits. This process takes 6 to 12 months to complete. During that time, first responders run out of disability, or they run out of their benefit time. They're fired from their career that they love so much, and they make $0. PARA is trying to codify the process of recertifying our disabilities. Currently, we're required to submit proof that we still have a disability from our doctor or our psychologist. PARA is attempting to put the word reapplication into the statute. This opens up the door for future changes in the recertification process for disability members. I don't know about you, but when I hear the word reapplication, I tend to feel like it means reapplication. I'm not sure why we need to put this word into the law if that's not what our intentions are. PARA maintains the process won't change. However, this wordage change is going to impact us in the future because they will change how we need to reapply per the word they are suggesting. This shifts the burden of proof from PARA back onto us to overprove once again that we have a disability from working at our jobs. Talk a little bit about what our organization has done to try and bring light to this situation. We were only founded a couple weeks ago when we found out about this bill. We've testified before a House committee. So many members wanted to testify, but we're not allowed to because too many people were already speaking. We were given 90 seconds to talk about how this bill impacts us. I've been standing up here for 10 minutes flapping my gums, and I haven't even fully explained how this bill impacts us. Several of the legislators that I have spoken to over the last 2 weeks have no idea that these penalties are even included in this bill. Again, I wonder how this bill is being touted as a resource for those suffering from mental health issues, while at the same time penalizing those who have those same issues, as well as those who suffer from physical injuries on the job. We are told that the stakeholders have been working on this bill for 3 years. In actuality, these penalties have only been inserted into this bill this session. On the website for this bill, it says the first reading took place on February 2nd, 2023. An article dated December 6, 2022 from the Minnesota Reformer, the executive director of PARA, Doug Anderson, is quoted as saying, "Right now, we just need to monitor the situation. When it becomes obvious that we're heading in a poor direction, then we want to take action. But we're fine right now." This is 2 months prior to these penalties being introduced into legislation. I fail to understand how in those 2 months this fund has completely lost its solvency. Stakeholders. There are plenty of stakeholders that have been part of this process. I'm not going to name them all. I do appreciate their input on the mental health aspects of this bill. However, I will say that none of these stakeholders have any credentials in mental health, nor are they impacted negatively by these penalties. In fact, the opposite is true. Many of these stakeholders represent organizations that stand to benefit from us paying back into PARA instead of seeing increases in their contributions. Why would these stakeholders even allow us to see at the table if our views directly contradict theirs? We've been pushing to get a seat at this table. We've met with Representative Herr. I applaud her for taking the time to meet with us and listen to our concerns. She took a lot of notes about the things we suggested regarding the mental health aspects of this bill, and I appreciate her time. We've also met with PARA. We've suggested offsets to them that won't punch us in the face so hard. Let me be clear about this. We aren't suggesting offsets because we think it's the right thing to do. We aren't suggesting that we take a hit because it's unfair to other people. And we aren't suggesting that we take offsets because we think the solvency of the fund is under attack. We're simply requesting or submitting these offsets because we don't have to pay the drastic amount, the devastating amount of money that these provisions are going to make us pay. Both Representative Herr and PARA, when asked if we could get a seat at the table, pointed to each other. Nobody is allowing us to get in. We've been advised that we can't make changes unless the entire stakeholder group sits down and has a meeting. The only people who can call such a meeting, Representative Herr or Senator Frentz. We reached out to Representative Herr on Thursday, March 30th, asking for a seat at the table. Not only have we not received a meeting, we haven't even received a response. So what do we want? Why are we here? Why am I up here rambling in front of all of you? We just want to be heard. We want to be a part of this process that impacts us so severely. It impacts those who are coming in the future and those who have left in the past. Nobody seems to understand this concept. We want to see at the table to be a part of this bill and come to a common understanding that can work for everyone. We want our active partners to understand what the implications of this bill is on them. Everyone knows we're only one call away from losing our careers forever. We want them to understand that this is not us versus them. We're still partners. We still feel the same way. Please, contact us. Let us help educate you on what this bill will do to you and future first responders. I will say that there's only 877 of us. We're going up against large, powerful stakeholder groups and politicians. We need your help. Please speak up for us. If you can pick up what I'm putting down, call Representative Herr. Call Senator Frentz. Tell them to give us a seat at the table that we rightly deserve. I also say that the League of Minnesota Cities, which is the largest insurer provider for the majority of the governmental agencies in this state, that has to pay out claims as a result of first responder injuries, also has a significant seat at this table. The website contains a toolkit so that their clients, the governmental agencies that we are formally employed by, gives them tips on how to contact legislators and tell them that they should approve this bill. I must have failed geography and political class because I don't understand how governmental agencies vote for our elected officials. A quote from PARA's website dated March 27, 2023. The PARA provisions in this bill have drawn opposition from plan members who retired with a duty disability and their attorneys. They object to the offset provisions that prevents retirees from collecting a duty disability from stacking pension benefits and reemployment earnings before age 55. I guess I don't understand how me scooping poop for $15 an hour stacks on my pension benefits. We want elected officials to stop saying things during hearings like bad actors are abusing the system. We want people like Shauna Johnson, the administrator of Wade Park, to stop saying, quote, the system is extremely exploitable, and quote, if you've got somebody that's truly injured and has that thing, they should be getting those benefits. But if it's not something that they don't truly have, we all know what she's talking about. She's referencing that she believes people with PTSD are faking it. This undermines the legitimacy of mental health injuries, not only for first responders, but everybody who suffers from these conditions. What if I were an EMT? I showed up to a scene for a guy who has back pain. He's laying on the ground. Says, I need some pain meds. EMT says, I don't think so, guy. I think you're faking it. How will that go over in the public eye? That person would lose their job. What about a cop shows up to a burglary scene? Business owner says, they stole all my computers. Cop says, I don't think so. I think you're just trying to collect an insurance check. I think you're lying. How would that go over? How would our elected officials who say there's bad actors in the system and public employees who say that we're faking PTSD react to those scenarios? We'd be fired, yet these people maintain their offices and continue to minimize the legitimacy of mental health. I'll end with this. The future of policing, fire, and EMS is growing up right now. They're attending college. They're playing firefighter in the backyard with a garden hose. They're your kids or your grandkids running around playing cops and robbers. It's the kid at Starbucks paying his way through college who always hooks you up with that extra shot of espresso. It's the firefighters, EMTs, and cops who show up to your grandma's retirement home to perform CPR on her roommate to try and save her life. Those are the people that are going to be negatively impacted by this bill. We just want a damn seat at the table. Is that so much to ask for? We just not want to get punched in the face so hard. Is that so much to ask for? We just want state law, what state law already says we have earned. Is that so much to ask for? We just want to offer solutions to a perceived problem. Is that so much to ask for? We just want to protect those who will come after us in the field, first responders. Is that so much to ask for? I urge everyone who does not favor these penalties to call your legislators and let them know your opinion. Email them, call them, leave them a voicemail, send them a fax, hit them up on Twitter, TikTok them, send them a homing pigeon. I don't really care. Call them, blow them up. Tell your friends, tell your relatives to do the same thing. Most of them don't even understand what this bill means. Lastly, we just want you to help us because we've spent our entire careers helping you at the cost of our own health and safety. I ask you to take a deep look inside yourself and contemplate if that's too much to ask for. Thank you.